Hey everyone, Reg here. Halloween is a special time of the year for me, because it's actually when I completed one of my favoritist games of all time, Darkest Dungeon by Red Hook Studios. I can still vividly remember it a couple of years ago. I had just finished trick-or-treating. Yeah, I trick-or-treat as an adult. What are you gonna do about it, fucker? And the final boss fight was just so incredible, and capped off an amazing experience that I'd had with the game. And I didn't even have the DLCs, so I didn't even, finish all of the content in the game until, a year later. Darkest Dungeon, if for those of you who don't know, is an incredibly difficult, sort of semi-roguelike RPG, in which almost everything is a variable rather than a constant. That means everything is calculated in percentages, and nothing is assured for certain. Keep that in mind. Most of the game, you will spend time with your created party gruelingly slogging through impenetrable obstacles and incredibly difficult fights, just desperately trying to get to the end of the level, to kill that fucking boss, to do whatever you need to do. And it takes a lot of savvy and a little bit of luck to get there, but mostly it requires strategy, and that is because in order to play the game perfectly, you really need to prepare for things to go wrong rather than for them to go right. You need to be able to say, you know what, I'm not gonna take this now because I will need something else later. Or I'm not going to use this move because there's a higher chance that it will miss compared to the more reliable move that does less damage. These are all really, really important things to consider when getting good at Darkest Dungeon. Now that being said, because it's getting close to Halloween, and I wanted to make a video on Darkest Dungeon, I figured I'd also continue in my trend of pissing on YouTubers. However, I wanted to go for a more lighter and softer take, and, just generally a more feel-good mood, by, instead of going after someone I both like and dislike, like Dumbsville, I decided to do a video about a video from my all-time favorite YouTuber, a man known as Zerolenny. For those of you who don't know, Zerolenny is a awesome Dark Souls challenge runner. He challenge runs other games too, but primarily Dark Souls. That's the whole joke of his channel, that he only ever plays Dark Souls, even when he runs out of jokes. He's just incredibly talented, incredibly funny. I love every single one of his videos. They're all terrific, and I highly recommend his channel to anyone. That being said, his video, The Darkest Dungeon Experience, is kind of hard for me to watch, because you can tell from playing it that Lenny did not have a great experience playing the game, and it shows up in its critiques of it. And, I should preface this by saying that this is nothing like the Dumbsville video, because in that one I thought that he was actively misinforming people about a show and its fandom. And I wanted to, clear up some of the bullshit that he was spewing out. So, whenever Lenny gives, a review of a game, it's great, except for when it's shit. He usually extremely acknowledges that there are, diehard fans of the game that can ignore its flaws or, have reasons for why they like them. So, he's pretty neutral on this, and mad respect to the guy. I would never in any way insinuate that, he's a terrible person for, he's a terrible fucking person for sitting on my Darkest Dungeon game! However, I wanted to talk about this today because the main thesis, the main axiom of the video, is that a lot of Darkest Dungeon comes down to straight luck. Lenny also has said repeatedly on multiple streams over the years, because this video is from a while back, so, that he thinks someone with no knowledge of the game could potentially beat the game in just as much time as someone with 200 hours in it, like me. I think I actually have close to 300 now. God, I need a life. And a spouse. And I take issue with this, because I distinctly remember, over the course of my playthrough, that I got better at Darkest Dungeon. At the beginning, I was straight up just, using attacks that looked cool, or, attacks that did a lot of damage, but over time I started to realize the importance of, bringing the back line to the front line with, movement abilities, or applying buffs and debuffs, extremely critical stuff if you really want to get into like the game's mechanics. Because this goes back to my theory that to get truly good at Darkest Dungeon, you have to be able to plan for things to go wrong. And the issue I take with Lenny's video is that I think that he came to the conclusion that the game is primarily based on RNG because he was always planning for things to go right. Take a look at this clip from the video. I think this really enunciates my point.
Don't get fucked over somehow.
Right, here we go. It's the first one. Okay, whatever. We got a bit.
Oh, for context, he got the town event where it gives you a higher virtue chance. So he built like his entire strategy around getting these virtue chances. That's an important detail I need to mention.
Unlucky. We can still do this. Come on,
Go on,
Big
Big Dazza.
Are you fucking
I love
serious?
this
You know
game.
what? I'm not even surprised. And believe it or not, I'm actually prepared for this and knowing that I'd get fucked over. And I brought an extra trinket to give us even more virtue chance. Are you fucking serious?
Okay, see, he didn't do anything inherently wrong here. He just like he prepared to like get virtue chances. But the problem is he went into a Darkest Dungeon quest, one of like the 4 hardest dungeons in the entire game, planning on all 4 of his characters getting a chance for a heavy buff that has an extremely low chance of happening to begin with, and the virtue event, I'm pretty sure, only tacks on like another 15% to that, and with the trinket, that still doesn't even amount to like 50%, I want to say. I want to say that a virtue is like a 10% chance of happening. So my point is, even though he claims to have prepared for this, if he had really prepared for this, he would have prepared for the dungeon as normal and done everything in his power to avoid getting his characters enough stress to have them get an affliction or a virtue in the first place. That's what you would do. And then, if they did get a virtue, that would have been an added bonus onto your strategy that was already working. That's the issue I take with this clip. Yeah, that's basically my opinion on this matter. The video in and of itself is still pretty funny, but I think like the core thesis that Lenny is trying to make, that like the game will continually dick you over no matter how much you prepare for it, isn't really the case. Like there are like really extreme circumstances where maybe even if you like totally prepared and you had like a strategy and like a nice team composition and you were like planning for contingencies and stuff, all that stuff's good, and then like the first room, like in this Bear Taffy video where the first combat that he encounters completely fucks over his entire expedition, that can happen, but it's not as extreme as Lenny would have you claim from this video. There are several other instances of it in the video if you want to go and check, where like he claims that the game doesn't like tell you how things work accurately, so you're just kind of in the blind. There's this particularly awful bit, in my opinion, where he's fighting the Swine King, one of the variations of the Swine King, and he claims that the game does not explain to you at all the mechanic that damaging Wilbur will make the Swine King do an attack that targets all 4 of your party members and can potentially stun them in addition to doing some dangerous damage. And if you kill Wilbur all the way, then he'll always do that attack on every turn. But see, the problem I have with this, I mean, like, he talks about how, like, the characters will say, like, oh god, don't hit the little pig, it's gonna kill us all, you know, like, that's something that the game tries to tell you, but it's not super obvious, which, you know, that's fair, but also, he does that attack without consuming an action on his turn, and he always does it immediately after you damage Wilbur. So, theoretically, you should be able to catch on that that's, like, a direct result of you hitting Wilbur within, like, the first 1 or 2 times he does that attack. Again, maybe I'm looking way too into this. Maybe Lenny just didn't really notice that, and like that's why he got completely dicked over by the Swine King. I mean, it happens to everyone. Like there's always at least one boss in Darkest Dungeon that you're gonna have way more trouble with over the rest, whether it be like the Shambler or the Drowned Crew or the Countess, for me personally, who wiped two of my favorite parties in my attempt to kill her. Fuck you, you stupid fucking bitch whore, and your stupid fucking vampire fucking bitch ass motherfucking goddamn. I don't know. I don't think that that's really an issue, or at least it wasn't for me and most of the people that I know that have played Darkest Dungeon. And yeah, those are really the two biggest problem points in the video that I have. The rest of it is just like a collection of, jokes and stuff that, classic Lenny spirit. Lots of cursing and funny dialogue and witty banter, all the classic good stuff. It's just that, like, these events and, like, a couple more minor ones throughout the video lead Lenny at the end to give it a great except for when it's shit rating, which he's also given to things like Dark Souls 2 and Dragon's Dogma, games that he legendarily doesn't like but have avid fandoms, which in my opinion just isn't entirely fair. This is but one video of a couple videos I hope to make this October about Darkest Dungeon, since, as I said, it's kind of Ogron October, if that's what we're calling this. No. Until the next video essay no one wants to watch, fuck y'all, bye.